Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, today we're going to go through every passing play for the Green Bay Packers offense. I don't know how much time that'll take, but I'm guessing it's going to take a lot of time. I can't even promise we'll get all the way through it. It seems like, why wouldn't we? We're just doing offense. We're just doing pass plays. 38 pass plays. If we do each one in a minute, that's a full podcast, and I doubt that that's going to happen. So I will do my best. I want to keep the goal kind of open-ended because I don't know what I'm going to see. But obviously, the hope is to find something that can inform something, right? Something to be like, oh, okay, this is problematic, that looked good, this, that, the other thing, whatever. There is the trade deadline today. It's still relatively early, so if anything happens, I am currently unaware of it, although I will keep the news up. There's a lot of smoke, but I'm guessing all 32 teams are making a ton of calls right now. It's kind of frantic, so, the fact that the Packers are probably doing a lot doesn't necessarily mean they're, likely to get anything done here. Jacoby Myers did get traded, it looks like. I know that was always... I think that was the only one that was, above 50% he was going to get traded. Going to the Jaguars. All right, let's go ahead and do this. Right away, I got a big problem here. So, obviously... The main question in my mind is anybody getting open? The one other time we did this, nobody was really open, and that was the first time I started to think, I wonder if there's an issue with Matt LaFleur. Because in the past, guys were open and Jordan wasn't throwing it. There's also all kinds of questions about depth, about the defense, are they just staying in too high, all this kind of stuff. First play of the game. All right, starting at the 35, we're in shotgun, etc., etc. We have Luke Musgrave. Let's see, he is currently at about the 45-yard line. He's wide. First of all, it looks like they're playing single high. He is behind everybody, and the only safety... there's just a pile of guys at the sticks. It sounds to me like this was a perfect play call insofar as the expectation is the Panthers are thinking this is not going to be an explosive play. They're not taking a shot here. Musgrave is behind everybody. He's wide open, and he's to the side that Jordan is on, that he's looking at. This is a massive play. I'm not going to say it's a touchdown because the safety probably catches him, and I doubt Musgrave breaks a tackle. But I'm thinking this is a 20, 30, 40-yard play. Jordan takes his eyes off it, decides not to do it, and throws back to Josh Jacobs. And again, everybody's upset because, all these passes are screen passes. All these passes are behind the line of scrimmage. Am I supposed to believe that this is a designed throw to Josh Jacobs? Is that what I'm supposed to do here? Even though he goes through all of his progressions and then says screw it and dumps it off to Josh Jacobs after the fact, I'm supposed to want to fire the head coach over this? It's just one play. We'll see how it goes. But this is my frustration. Everybody talks in generalities about nonsense with these weird conclusions, and I'm supposed to just accept it while nobody's even watching this. Luke Musgrave is wide, and I swear Jordan's looking right at him. And he goes, I don't know, it's too scary. And he comes off it. Even though he has plenty of time, Musgrave continues running in that direction. All the defenders have basically just given up. I guess they're just like, screw it. I don't think. I don't know. He's just getting more and more open as he runs, and Jordan's like, nope, and dumps it off. And it goes for 7. But again, as you're watching the TV, what are we all saying? Why is nobody open? Why can't we get anybody open? Somebody was wide open and Jordan didn't throw it, and then he checked it down to Josh Jacobs. Nice, beautiful, quick pass to Romeo Doubs. There wasn't enough time to see how the play develops because it's just a real quick at-the-sticks throw for a first down. So that'll get us past the 50. We're going to go under center here. Basically doing the same thing again. We're just going to try to drop guys into these short little zones. He's going to dump it off to Golden. I think there was a bigger play to Romeo, but it's hard to know because it's somewhat compressed, and you'd have to, this one's a little bit harder to come down on Jordan over. But I think a little pump fake to Golden pulls this down, and then because he hasn't even thrown it yet. If he pumps it, these guys are crashing on Golden so hard that leaves a lot of space for Romeo, and that's a first down throw. Instead, we're gonna dump it off to Golden, and he's gonna pick up 3 yards. So I think that's an option. He could have dumped it off again to Jacobs. I think there was a bigger play to Romeo for probably 10, but okay. And then we get our first screen of the game, which everybody seems to be really mad at, which again, I don't understand the sort of like arbitrary anger where people just like point out a thing and then it's supposed to just be assumed that it's bad. Well, they run a lot of screens. Okay. Well, I mean, like, why are you doing that? I don't know. Why shouldn't you do that? What is the complaint? I don't even understand. It's like, dude wears a lot of blue, man. You know, like, I hate that. What? Again, I very quickly look it up, and it's like Philly leads the league, and I forget exactly how it panned out, but it was like, if you look at, I think with screens, Jordan was relatively high, but it was just ahead of like Mahomes and Josh Allen in some really good teams. So again, yes, it happens a lot, but is it bad? I would say no. And then as far as like passes behind the line of scrimmage, again, Jordan pretty high in that category, but I think it's Jalen Hurts is like number 1 in that category. So again, is it bad? I don't think so. So, you know, this is the other complaint that I have is people get mad like that. There was one of the screens that everyone's like, oh, they knew this play was coming and all this stuff, and it's like, you know, yeah, maybe that's the case. I think maybe the bigger issue is that if the one guy that needed to block could have blocked, that's probably a touchdown. Because what I'm looking at based on design on this particular play, the screen pass here is to Emmanuel Wilson, number 23. He's got 4 blockers out in front, and there's 2 defenders in front of him. He's got to make one guy miss here, which he doesn't, and that's kind of the end of it. There is another side of this, and it's called execution. Next play, we got 5 guys out there running routes. It looks like they're going to be, at least for the guy that caught it, it looks like man coverage. So this is one of those situations we got to have somebody that can beat man. Good news, bad news here. Good news is we got a guy. Bad news is it's Tucker, who is not going to be able to help us in the future. Although I do think Musgrave will probably be able to do this. There is, so for one of the things Tucker does well, and he is, I don't want to say fast like Musgrave fast, but I mean, he can move. But he's also physical, and I think he's very technically proficient. He did a good job of like getting up into this guy's chest, getting him off balance, and then coming across, which makes it hard for the linebacker to be able to keep up. Musgrave is probably going to be more pure speed, but you've got it here. So there's Musgrave is open. Not a lot of really anybody else open, which is scary and unfortunate, but it is what it is. But Tucker does get open. Jordan identifies the right guy, throws it, and it's complete. So there you go. No real complaints kind of across the board, especially since this is probably designed for Tucker to begin with. So I think Jordan knew where this was going to end up, and Tucker did his job, and it just kind of worked across the board. So that was it for that drive, because we're now starting a new one. So after that must have been the Savion Williams fumble. So not terrible. I think one of the things that's being talked about a lot for the Packers is teams are playing them in such a way that they're taking away the big plays and they're forcing you to be consistent underneath all the way down the field. And the gamble is the Packers won't be able to be consistent long enough without making some kind of a mistake, which is it's a fair assessment to make of most teams, and I think for the Packers that they're probably also in that camp. Although not always, right? Look at the Steelers game. That was a bad gamble that did not pan out. They were very consistent for very long stretches of time. But the next series, we're starting at the 20-yard line. Looks like we're going to try to take a little bit of a shot here. I will say I do think, again, this is a play that could have gone deep to Tucker. Let me just look. I think pressure was a big problem in this play. In fact, I know that it was because by the time he could have seen Tucker, he had already dropped his eyes. He's got guys right in his face. So I'm going to go to the other angle and kind of see who is to blame here. And again, like this is my whole point. I'm not trying to blanket defend the coach because I don't know if he's the problem. What I do know is that there are a billion variables, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of detail to be able to pinpoint specifically this one thing is the problem. And nobody's doing that work. And so a lot of times, like, people on social media right now are like arguing with me as though I'm like the Matt LaFleur defender. And it's like, I'm not defending him as much as I'm poking holes in your argument. I'm demonstrating to you the issue that I have with what you're saying and why it's not convincing me. I'm not defending just because I want to defend the guy. I'm just telling you that you're trying to push me in that direction and your boat is full of holes. There's so many variables here. Here's a play where he got Tucker open deep down the field. Well, why didn't Jordan throw it? Because of the pressure. And it was Rasheed Walker that blew that play. I mean, I can't guarantee that he keeps his eyes downfield and I mean, he's staring at Tucker. He wants Tucker. But you can see that as soon as this guy comes into his vision, he drops his eyes to Josh Jacobs and dumps it off. And it's just a hair soon enough. I mean, if he's a hair late on that and tries to wait for Tucker a second longer, I don't think he gets it to Josh Jacobs. I think it's just a sack, unless he throws some amazing. And it's not like wide open for Tucker. It's certainly NFL open. But you throw a slightly off-target pass to Tucker, and that could end up getting picked. So Rasheed screwed us on that one. We ended up actually losing 2 yards on that. So despite a very good play call, deep down the field, not behind the line of scrimmage, not a screen pass, Rasheed Walker gave up a play. Jordan had to dump it off, and Jacobs got tackled 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And again, to be very clear, this was not a designed pass behind the line of scrimmage. Why does LaFleur keep doing that? Why does he keep calling up plays behind the line? He didn't. It's a check down. It's a hot read. It's, hey, if everything goes to hell, dump it off to this guy. Everything went to hell and he dumped it off to that guy. It was not the design. We've had one designed screen this whole game. That's it. Next play was the shot down the field to Matthew Golden that ended up being incomplete. There really wasn't a lot else here. Yes, there are other options. There are other guys running routes, obviously, but it's pretty well covered across the board. The only really options that you had were this shot to Golden, which wasn't going anywhere, or again, dump it off to your running back. So yeah, you can put this one on Matt LaFleur, but for those keeping score, that's the first one of the game where I looked at it and said there really weren't any options here. They tried to take a shot, defense was prepared for it. That brings up 3rd and 12. This time, Jordan goes the other way, throws it up into double coverage to Christian Watson, and it works very much successfully because Watson is just too freaking fast. I mean, Golden, in the other situation, Golden couldn't really get behind the guys. Here, they're trying to keep up, and they can't get there to the point where, and it's becoming a familiar sight, Christian has to consistently slow down a little bit for these balls, and the guys are just barely getting there in time. And then he's still high-pointing the ball well enough that it just doesn't matter. So, yeah, he is a phenomenal piece of this offense, and we're very fortunate to get him back as much as it sucks to have Tucker. By the way, there is an argument to be made that there's also a pass to Romeo Doubs that goes for a first down here, and I think it probably does. But it worked out just fine. In fact, I know that it does. Romeo is wide open about 5-6 yards beyond the sticks, 20-yard pass there for Romeo. So there were two options. One is the safer option to Romeo. The other is let's bomb it out to Watson here. Jordan being Jordan, he decides to bomb it, and it works out spectacularly. Could have been a disaster, and had it not worked, I would have been very angry that we had a wide open Romeo, but, it's one of those no, yes things. Next play, Jordan is sacked in about 2 seconds. It's hard to know if anybody's about to get open because things don't really materialize. He looks like he kind of wants to dump it off to Jacobs, but I don't think that really goes kind of anywhere. But that was really the only guy that had kind of finished his route by the time the sack happens. He tries to step up in the pocket and ends up getting taken down. It definitely doesn't look super promising down the field, but again, it's hard to know what coulda, woulda, shoulda happened. Let me get the other angle and see who kind of blew this. That is another very frustrating thing is one of the worst pass rush teams has already completely blown up 2 plays. And a pretty critical play here when a 2nd and 10 ends up being a sack. That's Jordan Morgan just getting thrown clean out of the way like he doesn't exist. That turns a 2nd and 10 from inside the red zone to a 3rd and 23 from outside of the 30-yard line. From there is when the screen pass is thrown, which of course sets everybody on fire. Everybody's very angry, as though this isn't a pretty common situation to throw a screen in 3rd and 23, especially in a compressed area. I will point out that it was not Jordan's only option. I think the guys to his left were legitimately running routes, not just running like decoys or running down there to, whatever. There were options. The problem is it's 23 yards. So, in order to get, let me put it this way. In order to get a first down, we needed to get past, I think, the 8-yard line. Do you see how small? I mean, we are going from like the 31-yard line. They essentially need a touchdown here. So, yes, you can call plays that forces Jordan to hold the ball again and push the ball in a very compressed area, which has a very high probability of being intercepted. Or you run a high percentage play, presumably with a lot of space underneath, and there was, because they had 5 of their defenders who were back to around the first down marker and 4 defenders that were rushing after Jordan. That leaves basically nobody in this area of the screen. So if Mr. Emmanuel Wilson had just caught the freaking ball, again, I can't promise you that anybody's going to do their job and block, but I'm looking at 1 blocker and 1 defender, which should very easily be gotten past. At the worst, he gets back to about the 15-yard line would be my guess. It's not a first down. But from there, you decide, should we try to go for it on 4th and, 8-ish? Or we got ourselves a better field goal opportunity. And again, you can disagree with the situation all you want. That's fine. But I think one of the issues I have is trying to make everything seem like an obvious situation. Like, you obviously shouldn't have done that. No, that's not obvious. What do you do in 3rd and 23 with like 5 yards of cushion for a first down? I mean, you basically have the compression of the red zone while needing to complete like a 30-yard pass after a sack. And if he takes another sack, we're out of field goal range. So what exactly is your genius big brain move here? Especially considering if he just caught the ball, this is like an automatic 15-yard gain. Well, he's not trying to win. Well, I mean, if you get 3 points as opposed to a sack or an interception, I think that's going to push us closer to winning than otherwise. Also, an incomplete pass is also a very difficult field goal, which this ended up being, thanks to the drop, as opposed to a chip shot like 30-yard field goal. So, again, I mean, there are a lot of times I would make different decisions, but I despise this idea that, like, there's one obvious 100% decision, and you went with the 0%. Nobody would ever do that. Bro, this is a very common 3rd and long call. Are you kidding me? This is like 50% of 3rd and long calls here. Give me a break. Anyways, we'll take a break here. We're at almost halftime. It is now 3-7. Carolina has the lead. Nothing has looked terrible, which I think is part of the issue here. There's a couple things. Number one is our defense couldn't get the other team off the ball, so we don't get a lot of possessions or opportunities in this game. Number two, I think the opportunities are there, but there's just too many inopportune mistakes. A fumble in a critical situation on a really good drive that more than likely goes for 7 points, ends up 0. Another good drive is essentially derailed because of a Jordan Morgan sack. And that's pretty much the summary. I mean, you could boil it down to 2 mistakes on otherwise pretty good. I mean, not perfect. Again, Jordan could have made some better decisions, and LaFleur could have made a couple better decisions. But ultimately, they overcame those mistakes, and they continued to drive down the field. But again, it was a sack and a fumble that caused us to potentially take a 14-point lead into being down by 4 in a game where it's 3-7. 2 simple mistakes. You could argue 3 with Emmanuel Wilson dropping that pass if you think something would have come of that, but I don't think so. And I think it's very low percentage anybody converts a first down on that situation. All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back. All right, so, I mean, everything's been okay, but obviously they haven't been able to convert, which is not great. We have a minute 56 seconds left in the half. We're down by 4 points. We've got some opportunities here to do things. Obviously, the website has decided it doesn't want to work for me anymore. Here we go. Are we in slow motion now, or what are we doing? This stupid thing. It's doing this thing where it's like pausing and unpausing. So it's causing it to be like it's in slow motion, but it's not. So I'm actually speeding it up at like 1.25 speed so that it's closer to normal. But anyways, so again, we got about 2 minutes, and it's 2nd and 12 because we must have run the ball for -2 yards, frickin' obviously. We'll take, which I know is a separate complaint of other people, but we're not really looking at that today, so I can't really analyze a situation we're not watching. Quick pass to Tucker Kraft. Looks like it was kind of a design thing with Romeo running a little bit of a picky kind of a thing. Picks up 10 yards. Real nice play. Gets us into Carolina Panthers territory. So nice and easy. However, we are now at 1st and 20, meaning some idiot got themselves a penalty. So again, here we go. Everything's looking good. We got plenty of time. Nice, good play call, good read, good throw, good catch, good yards after the catch. Everything's fine. Gets us first down, gets us in Panthers territory. Instead, we're back on like the 43-yard line, 1st and 20. Okay, great. We obviously got to push the ball down the field a little bit, so Matt LaFleur calls a little bit of a deeper thing. We got 3 guys going about 15 of the 20 yards down the field. We do have one guy, I think it's Tucker, underneath. He's covered. This is, I guess they got him kind of manned up while everybody else runs deep. There are 2 options to throw this ball because they're kind of like deep hook routes or deep curl routes essentially are what they're running. It's Golden, Watson, and Dobbs, but Watson's a little bit deeper down the field, so it's kind of Golden and Dobbs. Now, look, I don't want to be too nitpicky here, but I feel like Golden is the better option only because the guy is just a better hands guy, right? They're both running essentially the same route. They're both covered about the same. And so they both have an opportunity. If you throw it to them, they're coming back to the ball. And so I would love the opportunity for Golden to attack back to the ball and get his 2 hands up and catch it. And this would have been, if it were thrown to, I guess you could say Golden or Dobbs and caught, you get almost about 15 of the 20 yards back on 1st and 20. It's beautiful. Jordan, however, decides to go to Romeo. I don't super hate it because, number one, you trust Romeo more than you trust Golden. Fine, I get it. Number 2, Romeo is to the outside. And so he's one-on-one coverage, and the defender is kind of a little bit more facing the sideline, whereas there's 2 guys kind of bracketing Golden, and they're kind of facing downhill, although Golden ends up having a little bit more space, and I think it would have been better. Whatever. The main issue here is that Romeo slips. He slips and falls, and we're lucky that it didn't end up getting intercepted. So we had, again, a good start, gets derailed, puts us in 1st and frickin' 20. 1st and 20, it's a lot harder to find play calls. We're going to run some deep curl routes, some deep hook routes, whatever. Jordan tries to throw it. It's very much a timing thing because when he plants his foot in the ground, you want that ball coming out so that he can turn back and attack the ball before the defender can get there. Romeo tries to cut hard. He slips and falls, and now that puts us into 2nd and 20. So we had a penalty that screwed us, and now we have a slip that screwed us. So another nice little drive is currently getting derailed. Again, instead of being inside Panthers territory on a nice little 1st and 10, we're looking at 2nd and 20 with 56 seconds left and a very deflating kind of like, I think we're just screwed here. Fortunately for us, though, kind of a perfect, call it a trifecta, quadfecta, whatever, of a play. First of all, it's a good play call. We got 4 guys out running routes. We've got one of them open. One of them, I think, is a fair assessment. And it's, again, this is kind of play design. If this guy goes here and he goes here and he goes here, you're creating a little vacuum in here. What is needed on this play, which is very important, remember, it's 2nd and 20, we're going to have to push the ball down the field. We need pass blocking. If there's no pass blocking, then we're screwed. Because pressure gets there, and he's never going to find the open guy. And he's going to end up having to dump it off probably to Tucker. And Tucker probably gets the ball. Let's see if Tucker... Yeah, he probably could get it to Tucker, and they would let him have it. But it would be about a 9-yard gain unless he can make this guy miss. It could end up being bigger. But call it a 10-yard gain, and it brings up 3rd and 10. Instead, the pass blocking is great. Kudos to the pass blocking. Jordan's sitting. I'm getting nervous, even though I know the result of the play. I'm watching the receivers go down the field. I'm like, this is taking a while, dude. This is scary how long this is taking. Jordan has a very comfortable pocket. He steps up and is probably, I've seen it highlighted on social media, maybe his best throw of the day. There's a decent amount of space, but it's also, there's a pocket here. There's a guy deeper than Romeo. There's a guy to the sideline of Romeo. There is a guy to the middle of the field of Romeo, and there's a guy underneath Romeo. And so it's a beautiful little touch ball just over the outstretched fingers of the defender who jumps up for it, right into Romeo's hands. He turns upfield. It is a 30-yard gain. So again, I'm not mad about this. There's been a couple mistakes that have been at horrifically bad times. A turnover as we're about to score, a sack as we're about to score, a penalty that screws us. But you know what? We go back and we recover from that penalty, just like we recovered from some of the other mistakes. Okay, we're still in it. What a beautiful play. Good job, Matt. Good job, Jordan. Good job, Romeo. Great job, offensive line. Next play, beautiful design by Matt LaFleur. It looks like almost nobody's open. They all start kind of either on the right side or on the left and moving to the right side, creating this big, giant vacuum over to the left side. The running back stays in the block for a second and then leaks out. By the time he dumps it off to him, there's nobody there. Nobody there. It is a big, giant catch and run by, where am I looking here? Who is that? Oh, Chris Brooks, number 30. Chris Brooks brings it down to the, I think it says 12-yard line. Another first down. 16-yard gain on that. And that is a 100%er for Matt LaFleur. The offensive line doesn't have to do much. The receivers are basically running dummy routes. The pass is like a 1-yard pass, and the running back has to run in wide open space. All right, 21 seconds left. 1st and 10, 12-yard line. All right, so we've got 5 guys running routes, right? I'm trying to decipher, let me just put it this way. One guy was open for a touchdown, and that's Christian Watson. Christian Watson's coming on a little slant here. It's not super easy because you got 2 defenders in front, so you got to either get it over them or in between them or whatever. But if you can do that, if you can flip it right in between, Watson's there, and he probably runs in for a touchdown. The issue is Jordan has already bailed on the pocket at this point. I'm guessing he's kind of looking that way. I don't know if it's hard to tell 100% where his eyes are, but he's got 2 guys to his left and Watson right in front of him. When he bails out of the pocket, he's abandoning 3 of these routes. And I don't think he needed to do that. It's like he's not really trusting his offensive line. There's really nobody pressuring him all that much. There's a little bit of pressure up in the pocket, but I mean, they got it. It's a double team. He's not going anywhere. Nobody's really pressuring him. But once he drops his eyes, Watson is no longer a target. He's got 2 other guys that are no longer targets. Dobbs, I mean, you could argue that he could also have thrown a Dobbs touchdown here, but he's kind of dropped his eyes off of that too and is only looking at Emmanuel Wilson as a touchdown in the corner of the end zone who's covered. So that doesn't work. He evades a sack here, and then he's got 3 more guys coming, and he dumps it off at Tucker's feet, which is smart. You don't want him to catch it inbounds, and then you're kind of screwed, so he just kind of throws it at his feet. My frustration here is that I think there's a Watson touchdown here. It's always hard to judge watching all 22 and not being a quarterback. I can't see his field of vision. Maybe he can't fit it in between them or over them or whatever, and this wouldn't work. I don't know. But I do think he bails from the pocket way too early, which eliminates more than half of his options. Then, as he's bailing, Romeo cuts to that middle of the end zone, and I think this is a touchdown, but he's already given up on that, meaning he's given up on 4 of his 5 routes and is only looking at a guy that's covered a running back that's completely covered and is not going to get open. But honestly, even that, he could have thrown it up in the corner. There's a chance. Instead, he just says, no, screw that too. So he bails on Christian, he bails on Romeo, and then he bails on giving Emmanuel Wilson an opportunity. Almost gets sacked, barely evades it, and then dumps it off to Tucker's feet. So, again, it's hard to say definitively, like, oh yeah, he definitely had it. I think even Romeo's might have been the most, like, for sure, because when he bails out of the pocket, there's no congestion there. It's just Romeo in front of a defender, a good enough placed ball, and that's a touchdown. He'd have to kind of stop and plant his feet or throw back a little bit across his body, but the throw is there. But again, he's already given up on that play. So I think the offensive line held. I think our coach got guys open. I think our receivers got open. I just think Jordan panicked a little bit too much. He wanted to get to the outside. He limited himself to one guy that wasn't open, and that was the whole thing there. Now is when they try to get Golden his opportunity. And I think it was kind of I think the design of this was for Tucker to kind of have a little bit of a pick here. They're kind of running at each other, and Tucker kind of just stops, and Golden needs to jump around the outside of him. He tries to do that, but a defender makes such a perfect play. He jumps, and maybe this is on Tucker. I don't know. I mean, you can't be obvious about the fact that you're blocking downfield or you're going to get in trouble. But this safety comes from deep downfield and dives and tackles Golden at his feet as he's just about to jump to the outside of Tucker Kraft. So, again, in theory, and I'm sure they run this play all the time, it's almost like a downfield run play a little bit, where you dump it off to him and then you let him make a play, kind of running with blockers out in front around to the outside, and this stupid safety comes up and just makes a frickin' play, diving right at his feet, because everybody else is kind of blocked up. Like, you can already see the defender chasing Golden, looking to make the path around Tucker, which is the idea. Oh, crap, I got to go around Tucker. So Golden, his speed's going to beat him. He's going to beat him to the outside. And, where he's going to have Savion out here to help block. Potentially a touchdown. If not, you get something. But no, this guy comes up and makes a freaking heroic play to blow that up. So that didn't work. Am I mad at the play call? No. Am I mad at the execution? No, it seemed like it was executed perfectly. Sometimes the other team makes some kind of a freaking fantastic play, and that's essentially what that was, because it looked like it was about to work, but one guy just freaking ruined it. 3rd and 6, 10 seconds left, and you can see they're trying to give Romeo an opportunity, and again, you can see the play design. You can see where this is supposed to work and how it's supposed to work, and it works kind of perfectly. So we've got 4 guys kind of running out in routes, one of them coming underneath as a little option underneath, but even that is meant to draw somebody down. Then we've got, I don't know who this is. Let's just call it Golden. I don't know who it is. He's screaming across the middle. That's going to pull the 2 guys that are here down, because they're going to make sure like he does not catch it and get up in there. This leaves a big vacancy. The safety gets pulled down. That leaves a big vacancy in the middle of the end zone. So as soon as Jordan sees, I'm guessing, that safety come downhill, he knows I'm throwing it right back to that middle area there, and I need Golden to be there. So that's what he does. He throws with anticipation. Romeo has not come out of his break yet. He just chucks it up right in there. I don't know where it goes wrong from there. I kind of want to blame Romeo a little bit, because he seems to want to like push it up a lot before he cuts back inside, as opposed to just saying, hey, I'm past this safety. Let me just cut inside and get away from this defender and get open. However, the ball is, if he does that, he's not running to where the ball is. The only thing you could maybe be upset with Romeo about is the fact that he kind of drifts backward to the end of the end zone instead of attacking. But with the angle of the ball, he kind of has to be back there. So, I don't know how catchable it was. Let me see if I can see it from the other angle, maybe a little bit. Whether this hit him in the hands and he should have caught it. Somewhere there's a disconnect, because everything worked. There's a wide open space in the middle of the end zone. There should have been a wide open receiver with a ball in his chest, and that's not what happened. Romeo did not get separation on his one guy, he had the perfect leverage. The guy is to the outside. You need to cut to the inside. But again, instead, he's kind of like drifting out and up and allowing the defender to just stick with his hip. and he doesn't really get any separation in the end zone. But again, even if he does it correctly, I don't know if the ball's there for him. Because as he's kind of running a lazy route to get to the middle of the field, the ball is kind of right where it needs to be. If he's quicker with it, I don't know. But again, the design was there. We got a spot wide open at the end of the end zone. We just needed to put a receiver there and put the ball in his chest, and for whatever reason, Romeo couldn't get the separation that he needed there. That brings up 4th down. All right, that's the end of the half. We're going to have to go a little bit faster here. We're doing our second break, and we've only got halfway done, so we'll do our best as we rip through this. We'll be right back. All right, so we start off with a 3rd and 1, so we must have done 2 run plays for 9 yards. Right away, go back to the old faithful, just throw it in real quick on a slant route to Romeo. Works beautifully. 1st down. All right, so it's 7-6. The first half didn't really look that terrible aside from some idiotic mistakes. We're at about the 50-yard line already. Everything's looking great, right? It should be no problem. We're going to dominate this game. Does it again. Quick pass to Romeo Doubs. Picks up 5 yards right out of the gate. Nice and easy. This, I would say, is probably the second play call that I've seen in this game where all the routes kind of ran into the defenders, meaning it was just a pretty good play call. The other issue is that pressure came immediately up the middle. So, I don't know that a lot would have been there. I mean, Romeo may have come open across here. The other thing, too, is guys kind of stop running their routes when they see Jordan, which I guess isn't a good thing, running for his life. So, like, Romeo is to Jordan's back, to his back, as Jordan scrambles to the right, and he's kind of like, well, I guess he's not going to be throwing to me here. I think that's probably an option to not try to get open for your guy, but, either way, Jordan very quickly just throws the ball away, so there was nothing there. Again, I can't super critique everything because, I think this is a similar play to where we caught Romeo earlier in the game. And if he continues running, maybe he ends up being passed to, but this is a failure, once again, of the offensive line. Let's see who messed this up. Now is Elgton Jenkins. And, the annoying thing, and this is kind of just how it works with football, this is why so many defensive coordinators are okay with bend, don't break. This is only like the 3rd time I've blamed the offensive line for blowing up a play, but it's so devastating when it happens. If you can just do it once per drive, you might be okay. That was 2nd and 10, brings up a 3rd and 10 now. Now he's throwing a quick screen to Matthew Golden. A couple things of note. Number 1, there have not been very many of these in this game. Had somebody argue, I told him it was like 17% of passes. He's like, it was not. It's like I literally looked up the number. Number 2, it should be noted that Jordan changed the play at the line. So this was not the initial play call. This was the secondary play call, meaning it was called in, but it wasn't the initial call, and it was based on the defensive alignment, meaning considering how the defense was aligned, this was the better option according to your quarterback. Golden picks up 6 yards on 3rd and 10. Must have been the missed field goal shortly after that because Packers get the ball again back at their own 14-yard line and have not scored any more points. So again, you had Elgton Jenkins screw up that series and then the missed field goal. So, I mean, you can count on one hand the mistakes that have erased probably 11 points. If you figure the 2 drives that ended in field goals should have been touchdowns, that's 8 points. 4 and 4, And then even if we just assume that this was not going to be any better than a field goal, a missed field goal is an additional 3. That would make the game 17-7 right now with us having the ball at our own 14 as opposed to 6-7 with us having the ball at our own 14. And if it's 17-7, at the midway point of quarter 3, you're feeling pretty good about this game. This is a dominant performance with almost nothing changing, just a handful of mistakes. Instead of a fumble, we punch it in for a touchdown, right? If Romeo gets a little bit of separation, boom, touchdown. Or if Jordan had seen Romeo open on the play prior to that, touchdown. And then if McManus doesn't miss the field goal, it is 17-7. We're dominating this game. We're just going to let this, we'll probably drive down and score again. Further put this game away, no big deal. But just a handful of mistakes in an otherwise pretty decent performance. Like on a play-to-play basis, they're doing a good job. But they just keep messing up at all the wrong spots here. And of course, right out of the gate is when we get, so it's 2nd and 7, so we ran the ball for 3. They've got a guy blitzing up the middle, nobody picks him up. So Jordan immediately gets pressure and just throws the ball away. So that ruined that. That brings up 3rd and 7 because our offensive line didn't pick up the blitzer. That brings up 3rd and 7. Despite all these ridiculous mistakes that are going on, is Matt LaFleur able to get somebody open? Yep, it's Romeo Doubs past the sticks on a little out route. Jordan throws a good pass. It's caught, 1st down. I mean, I got to be honest, man. The level of frustration I have, the fact that our coach has coached a very good game and he's being blamed for all these mistakes is annoying as hell. It's just constantly being put in a bad situation. Okay, how are you going to bail your players out of this one? Then he goes to the podium, takes all the blame when it's not his fault, and then all the fans say, see, he said it's his fault. Ugh. All right, 1st and 10, we're moving, and by the way, bad field position, as per usual. So we got to dig ourselves out of that hole. Then we got to dig ourselves out of a hole because of our offensive line, which, by the way, it was 2nd and 7 because we can't run block to be able to get any yards. Then it ends up being 3rd and 7 because we can't pick up a frickin' block. So we still find a way to get a 1st down. Okay, now it's 1st and 10 from the 24, and Jordan launches a ball down the field to get picked off. Again, I just for a second want you to be Matt LaFleur. What the hell am I supposed to do right now? What is going on? By the way, Romeo wide open in the middle of the field here. Wide open. Middle of the field. But Jordan, and this is what happened last time on the Christian Watson thing, remember? Remember what I said? He's got Romeo wide open. He chose to take a shot to Christian. If that didn't work, it would be very annoying because he had a guy open. He decides rather than throwing to wide open Romeo in the middle of the field, Jordan is going to heave-ho this down the field. Now, as I said, Jordan was not able to step into this throw, which is part of the problem. However, it doesn't really matter because the fact of the matter is Christian Watson is blanketed. He's not just double-teamed, he's triple-teamed. I mean, it's frustrating for multiple levels because not only is Christian pulling away 2 guys, he's pulling away 3 guys. Meaning there's a lot of room underneath that, which is where Romeo resides. But he didn't throw it to Romeo, who's wide open, because the 3 deep guys are all running with 1. I mean, this is a basic numbers situation. If 3 are covering 1, then somebody's wide open. And it's Romeo, and he doesn't throw it. He throws it to triple coverage, which turns the ball over. Completely unnecessarily. If Romeo catches this, by the way, gets us to about midfield. You're looking at least a 25-yard gain on 1st and 10, getting us to midfield, and we continue rolling. Instead, massively underthrows a triple-covered receiver, which turns the ball over and puts it in the other direction for no reason whatsoever. And Matt LaFleur talked about this. Sometimes we're hunting for the big play when we don't need to be. And it's funny because it's like, well, there's this frustration because we don't have any of the big plays and because it's all underneath and because they're playing all this deep stuff. We had plenty of big plays in this game. It's fine. Just keep throwing to the open guy. By the way, Romeo was a big play. That's a big play. That's a 20-plus yard explosive play. Anywho, that brings it to 13-6. We get the ball back again, this time at the 25, so we got some ground to cover again. It is 2nd and 13, which means what? Means we're trying to establish the run at least a little bit. You know, once in a while, we got to run the frickin' ball. What happens? 3-yard loss. Why? Because our coach is an idiot for ever running the ball? Or because our offensive line is pathetic? He dumps it off to Jacobs across the middle of the field. Probably was his best option, to be honest. And not only because there's not a ton of other options, but because, Josh Jacobs across the middle of the field, mano-a-mano with the linebacker. I mean, if he makes this guy miss, it's a big gain. But he just immediately goes down, so it ends up being a 4-yard gain. So that puts you in 3rd and 9. Packers hurry to the line. I think this might have been the free play thing. It's funny because I actually caught the camera operator, too. They were kind of showing the scoreboard, which usually you don't really see on here, but they show it before. But because it happened so fast, they're like, oh, cameraman shoots down there. But yeah, he's got Romeo wide open down the sideline, hits him deep down the sideline, gets us past the 50, makes a man miss, gets to almost the 40-yard line. So we did it again. We were able to overcome again, and this is presumably on the back of Jordan Love. He saw that they were not getting off the field in time, finds a man open, Romeo with a nice catch, Romeo makes a man miss. Like, it's still there. The explosive plays are there, the smart plays, the good throws, the good catches, the yards after the catch. It's all there. Just stop making stupid mistakes and let's get it going here, please. The Jets are trading Sauce Gardner to the Colts? Dang, Packer fans are going to be pissed. Oh, my Lord. Wow. That's crazy. That had to be some big compensation. I mean, that's at least a first-round pick, I would assume, right? I mean, he's one of the best corners in football. Like I've said before, it's funny that, of course, this happened. I said there's probably like 5 to 10 like actually good, consistent corners, and none of them are on the trade block. Well, apparently there was one. Whew. Well, that's crazy. Anywho, let's continue. It's now 3rd and 4, so we've done 2 runs for 6 yards, classic 3 per rush. Again, the running actually did work kind of well, but when it doesn't, it can be a little annoying. 3rd and 4, by the way, is not really the worst situation to be in. It's an okay situation. But the larger point is we're not getting a ton of help from our run game. But again, 3rd and 4 is fine, I guess. Jordan tries to squeeze it into Christian Watson. This is the play where Watson ends up having to be taken off because of a head injury there. First of all, I think the ball is just way too late to Watson if you're going to do that. I don't know if it's just that he just didn't get his head around in time. I mean, his head's there. I mean, the ball should have been there by now. The amount of time it took, I mean, Watson is like stepping, like throw it. If this play was going to work, this ball needed to be out a long time ago. In addition, there were other options. Romeo potentially could have been an option. Hard to say whether that could have worked. I think Watson's a better option, but again, ball needed to be there a lot sooner. And then beyond that, the best play is Malik Heath at the top. He's running a deep curl route. He's got man-to-man coverage, and the guy's giving him way too much cushion. I mean, he's down to almost a 25-yard line. He comes back. I mean, this is a big play down the field. Now, it's tough if you're Jordan because you can't just say, well, what if that guy's open down there? You know what I mean? You got to take what the defense is giving you, and you can't just give up on an open man. The problem is he open? And if he is, then you, should have thrown this ball a lot sooner. So this is certainly not a Matt LaFleur issue because you've got at least one guy wide open way down the field. You've got probably Watson open for a first down and potentially Romeo that could have got this for a first down. That may have been a little short, and it's also tight coverage. But we throw those we've already thrown a couple of those already, those tight coverage throws to Romeo Doubs for first downs. So it's not a play calling deal, but I do think Jordan could have made some better decisions here a little bit. But that's going to bring up 4th down now. Packers decide to go for it. And they end up getting I think, is that Josh Jacobs? No, it's Brooks again. They get Brooks wide open again in the flat. This was a big critical play that they had before. And actually, it's just kind of smart football because they end up bringing extra guys. Jordan identifies that. If you're going to blitz, then you're not covering my guy. We only need 4 yards. Gives him a chance. Chucks it up to him, and he's able to turn it upfield and get a first down. So good play, good throw, good catch, good first down. It just worked out perfectly fine. Again, like I feel like things are working way more often than not working. Oh, it was 2 first-round picks for Sauce. Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, he's good. I'm not going to say, the Jets or the Colts are a lot better of a football team now, but certainly not something the Packers, for obvious reasons, had the ability to do. And I will say, I'm not trading Micah for Sauce. I'm not doing that, so I'm fine with it. Okay, so it's 1st and 10. Everything's fine. We're at the 28-yard line. All is well in the world. He's got Savion Williams wide open in the middle of the field. He rips it to him. Savion, the funniest thing I've ever seen, where he catches it and just like flings his body backwards, like, assuming there's somebody behind him, he's going to just blast right through him. But there was nobody back there, so he kind of just like slams himself into the ground. But picks up that extra yard. So that's 6 yards on first down. Perfectly adequate situation. There was also an option to the right side as Josh Jacobs went out that way. Probably picks up about as many yards, if not more. It depends if he can make a man miss or not. If he makes a man miss, it's a first down. If not, it's probably about the same amount of yards. But on first down, taking 6 to a guy right in front of your face is absolutely a perfectly good, it's a successful play. 6 yards on first is fantastic. Now it's 2nd and 8, so I don't know if there was a penalty or what, because 1st and 10, gain 6 yards, 2nd and 8 doesn't super compute. But I suppose if there was a 5-yard penalty, it's pretty close. It should be around 2nd and 9-ish, but, depending on where they spot it or whatever, I don't know. Freaking annoying, but whatever. 2nd and 8, fine. You know what's hilarious about this? So the exact same play where it's like whenever they see trips to one side, they know it's a screen pass, right? And I'm guessing this is the very next play where they actually run that. We got a bunch, a trips bunch, so 3 receivers in a bunch, and then we've also got a running back who starts motioning to that side. Immediately they come crashing down like they did in the past, but we didn't throw it that way. We threw it on a quick slant to Romeo Doubs. So, I mean, it's funny because it's like, well, that's a tell. They know whenever you do that that's what you're going to do. Except we did it the play before and we didn't do it. So, threw a slant to Romeo Doubs to pick up 5 yards. Not terrible. It would have been nice if it was 6 yards the play before and we didn't have some kind of a stupid penalty or something. But whatever. That'll put us in, 3rd and something? I don't know, because we run the ball and end up losing a bunch of yards again, putting us in 4th and 8. And do you get what I'm saying about this? Like, as far as the run game goes, and again, there have been some good runs and some not so good runs, but just from our perspective of passing the ball, we can't pass all the time. We have to run the ball. We've been passing a lot of the time, the majority of the time. But every time we turn it over to the run game, and we come check back in on the pass, we're in a worse situation than we were just in. That has to improve. Because abandon the run is not an option. But we also can't constantly be in a situation where, it's 4th and 8 or 3rd and 9 or something like that, and we have one shot to call the perfect play and have perfect protection and make a perfect pass and make sure you catch it and make a play after the catch. Because if you make one mistake, then the whole thing is ruined. 4th and 8, we decide to go for it. So this was the situation, too, where it's like we could kick a field goal. I generally am in the kick a field goal camp. That would put us... So we're down 7. You kick a field goal, we're still down 4. So you're still down a touchdown, essentially. I think if you're down 6, it makes a little bit more sense. Because if you kick a field goal and then you do it again, you kick another field goal, then you're tied at least. You could make the argument that a field goal puts you in a better situation to where you're within 3. If a field goal puts you in a situation where you're still not within a field goal, you still need a touchdown. I understand going for it here on 4th and 8. Again, I'm not saying I would, but it does make more sense. I think if it's 6 points, you kick the field goal. 7 in the 4th quarter where your defense can't get them off the field and you really don't have a lot of time. If you don't get it here, you get another stop, you get the ball back, you still need a touchdown. If you kick a field goal, then you're putting yourself in a situation where you can do no better than we still need a touchdown. So again, you can say you disagree, but at least pretend that it's not an easy decision, because it certainly isn't. And I guarantee you, if we kick a field goal here and end up losing the game, it's like, why would you kick a field goal? It doesn't even put you within 3. You pay $50 million for a quarterback and you don't even trust him, blah, 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 blah. This, by the way, is, of course, the play where it's nearly picked off again. Now, a couple things. First of all, it is important to understand situation. Jordan cannot throw the ball away here. He cannot take a sack here. And a turnover is, assuming it's not like a pick 6 or something, a turnover is really no worse than just about anything else. Ideally, you throw it at like the 1 yard line or something if you're going to throw a turnover. So I can't completely defend it, but it's different than like a first down play. And again, I've already gone over this play based on what I've seen. I'll go back a little bit, see if anybody was open earlier or whatever. But just for this specific instance, again, we can't judge it based on when the defender catches or nearly catches the ball as like, well, that was your decision. No, his decision ends when the ball leaves his hands. So if I'm looking here, right now is when his arm is moving, right? He's launching it. The defender's back is to Jordan. Romeo is looking at Jordan. Okay? That's a situation where you're pointing at Romeo saying, I'm going to throw it over there, go run over there. So in his mind, I'm going to throw it to that open spot. The ball probably doesn't quite get where he wants it to go because, again, he's got a defender basically in his chest as he's throwing it. But from his standpoint, there's a huge amount of open real estate. I'm going to throw it over there. Romeo's looking at me. The other guy has his back to me. This makes perfect sense. The problem is, again, the defender pushes Romeo, so he's off balance. And for whatever reason, Romeo, after he gets pushed, just stares at the ball and watches it like he's watching fireworks. The defender, after he pushes Romeo, turns around and is like, oh, dude, there's a ball coming at me, and actually goes for it as Romeo continues to just stand there for whatever reason, I don't know. He saw the entire thing from start to finish. He can see his quarterback pointing, saying, hey, go that way, right? He tries to go that way. He gets shoved. But it's still like there needs to be, like, I got shoved. Oh, crap. Because I need to get over to that spot where the ball's going to go. No, he stands there and watches it like he's watching fireworks. The defender turns around, sees the ball, and makes an attempt for it. I mean, that's... I'm not mad at Jordan about that decision at all. He needed to make a play, and that was smart football. When you see the back of a defender's jersey and you can point to your guy saying, go that way, and you throw to an open spot in the field, I don't have any issue with that decision. I have an issue that the refs didn't call the shoving on Romeo, and I have an issue on Romeo making zero effort whatsoever to go get the football, but I don't have an issue with what Jordan did. The first interception, I have a lot of issues with that. This almost interception, I really don't. It's fourth down. You have to make a play. This is your best option. This also could potentially be another offensive line issue because I think Romeo potentially, you could argue, is running like a quick out or even like a curl or whatever. I think if he's able to tuck that ball right in the corner, that's a first down. Maybe a touchdown, but he's probably tackled at about the 3, which is a first down. I really think that that's the case. Beyond that, he's also got Heath going to the corner of the end zone, which if I don't think that works unless Romeo could pull this guy down a little bit more, which he couldn't. But that is I think 9 times out of 10, that is a bread and butter out route past the sticks to Romeo Doubs. Beautiful situation. I mean, it's there. The issue is that they have one of their defensive linemen push right past Morgan and Elton Jenkins. He just kind of goes right past Morgan, who's like, I think Elton will get him. And doesn't seem super worried about it. And it just pushes Jordan off the spot. So, again, the offensive line completely screwed us against a team with no pass rush, gets an insta pressure on our quarterback. And yes, I do think that there were options. I think there was an option for sure for Romeo. Boom, ball's out right there. Except when you look at Jordan, like this is probably when Jordan throws it. I'm looking at Jordan. What's Jordan doing? He's jumping backwards, trying to evade a pressure. And now he's running to his right, and he could maybe try to squeeze it in there for Romeo. But at this point, we're really pushing it, and that defender is collapsing down already. He's seeing it going, oh, that's what you want to do? So Romeo now at this point is bailing. He's like, all right, I'm going to go back the other way. Again, Heath is kind of open toward the back of the corner of the end zone, but that defender covering Romeo, no chance. He's way too close to that situation. You've also got, is that Tucker? Was Tucker gone already at this point? That might be 86. I think that's Fitzpatrick. You could argue that there was a throw here, but again, I don't think he sees it, and because he has to scramble to his right. Plus, he's got 3 guys, so he's going to have to turn around and go the other way. He's also got... who is that? Emmanuel Wilson with his hand raised in the air because he's like, dude, I'm going to be wide open. The problem is he's all the way at the other end of the field. So you had a first down here. You got arguably a first down to Fitzpatrick, but probably not. And you also had a running back who's probably a touchdown in the corner of the end zone had his quarterback been able to stand in the pocket. I don't think he gets it to Emmanuel Wilson because I think that first down pass to Romeo would have already happened at this point. But yeah, the offensive line screwed us. Jordan did his best to make a play out of this. I think he made the best possible decision he could given the circumstance. And we had the refs not call a very blatant push. And then Romeo, again, just standing there and not even trying. I mean, at the very least, go make a defensive play. I don't know what he's doing. So that was the end of that. That's how that ended. So we're still at 6 points. Now there's 7 minutes left. 1st and 10. We're at the Green Bay 29-yard line. Let's try this again. What happens? Is it a screen pass or a pass behind the line of scrimmage? It's so funny people say that because I have seen like big shot after big shot after big shot down the field. This is a 21-yard gain to Luke Musgrave down the field. So bad play call, bad quarterback play, bad nothing, actually. People complain like, oh, he's trying to be too creative and all. And again, all this random stuff. We got Savion in motion running a fake sweep, which pulls the linebackers down, which, by the way, if we don't start running that, guys are going to stop biting on that. So we have to run those because that's the reason Musgrave was open, to get the linebackers to bite down on that, which gave some space behind for Musgrave to come back and get some space and get over the top there. But no, we don't want to run that, even though we have no concept of the fact that we have to run those things so that we can play off of those things. There isn't a 21-yard pass to Luke Musgrave if they're not afraid that we're actually going to hand the ball to Savion Williams in that spot. And it's 1st and 10, why wouldn't we? All right, so once again, we're on the move. Once again, we're in Carolina Panthers territory. With that one play, we're at the 48-yard line. Actually, that's not true. We were at the 50-yard line. We ran a run play for 2 yards, so there's that. And again, an instant pressure right up the freaking middle. Oh, okay. Who's responsible? Is it Morgan again or what? Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it was a line call basically that got botched. I'm guessing this needed to be Elton, but like from Elton over they went this way, and then from Morgan over they went that way. Nobody accounted for the linebacker blitz. That's the second time. I don't know if that's the center's job, the quarterback's job. I think it's the center. I think it's Elton who needs to be doing that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, and a great play by Jordan to turn around and quickly just get the ball over Josh Jacobs' head. I mean, that's kind of like Aaron Rodgers throwing it at a guy's feet. I mean, this could have very easily just been take the sack, but he, in his mind, knows I've got an eligible receiver right here. Just dump it. So... But again, just getting absolutely screwed. 2nd and 8. We got plays set up. Can't run them, though, because our offensive line doesn't know to pick up the blitz. And for the second time, we just had to completely scratch a play. We just lost a down. And then here's another really weird play, I think, from Jordan primarily in terms of where you can call it blame, I guess. I mean, it's 3rd and 8. We pick up 5. I mean, it's not terrible. There's a lot of space underneath, and he dumps it to Musgrave. Part of the issue, I think, maybe is the throw. Part of it is the lack of gracefulness that Musgrave has, as we all know. Whereas some guys can kind of catch this gracefully and run in stride. I mean, Musgrave at full speed around here gets around the defender. The problem is he has to kind of jump, and he's facing the wrong direction. So he has to land and then turn and then run again. And so he can't get past the defender at that point. The bigger issue that I have is that there are other options to throw to, and I don't know why we didn't take those throws. Malik Heath is open past the sticks, right in the middle of the field. He decides not to do it. Watson has a really good amount of space over on the left-hand side. He's going to run a real deep little hook route, curl route, whatever. And, I mean, if the ball's there, he could easily get that to Watson. That's probably a 15-yard gain right there. But instead, he dumps it off. There's 2 options for first downs. He dumps it off to the check down underneath to the tight end, which, again, the Matt LaFleur is going to be blamed for. Another short pass, another little dump-off pass. Okay, dude, whatever. And, again, I think he had 2 options for first downs he chose not to do. He decides to throw it to Musgrave. It could have been a better throw, and Musgrave is not able to gracefully turn and land and get the first down as a result. So that brings up 4th and 3, and a real quick pass. Again, can we get somebody open? The answer, of course. Like every time, it's Malik Heath right past the sticks. Gets open. Musgrave behind him possibly even could have been an option, but that's only because he threw the pass. But again, Musgrave being back there caused them to kind of drift a little bit to create that space. Heath makes a man miss, gets up the field. And we talk about the 1 4th down everybody's mad about. We don't seem to talk about the 2 4th downs that we were able to convert. Good play call, good route by the receiver, good throw, decision, all that kind of stuff. We picked up another 4th down. So now we're still down 7. It is First and 10 from the Carolina 32-yard line. Rips a quick out route to Christian Watson, just the bread and butter right there. Nice and easy throw. Nice and easy 6 yards on first down and out of bounds. Next play again, they're going to take the underneath. Nice and easy throw to, looks like Luke Musgrave. Picks up 8 yards, first down. And then, sadly, the final pass play of the game here comes on 2nd and 5 from the 13-yard line. Play action pass, going to dump it off to Savion Williams, who makes a man miss. Picks up 7 yards on a 2nd and 5 for a first down. After that, obviously, the Packers charge in for a touchdown. But that's the last they'll touch the ball, and obviously we know how the game ends up ending. So, yeah, I mean, watching it, I hate to even say it comes down to inconsistency, because I don't know that if you count as a percentage the amount of plays where something happened that somebody made a mistake, I don't know that it's higher than average. The amount of times the offensive line made a mistake, what was it, 5 times? You tell me there aren't 5 plays in a given game where your offensive line kind of screws up a play? Give me a break. That's got to be common. The amount of times I thought Matt LaFleur called a bad play, what was it, 2 or 3 total the entire game? The amount of times Jordan made a bad or poor decision, like 3 or 4. But, I mean, again, you couple the timing of the situation. If it happens on a 3rd or 4th down, that's obviously worse than a first down, which you can overcome, which we did a lot, as you saw. Whenever there was a situation where it set us behind the sticks on 1st or 2nd down, we were able to come back with a big 20-yard gain or whatever the case may be to be able to overcome that. But if it happens on 3rd or 4th down, you can't really overcome that. If you miss the field goal, you can't overcome that. If it's a turnover, which we had 2, you can't really overcome that. You can't just pick up the first down on the next play. No, you lost possession. It's gone until you get it back again. So, I mean, a lot of this feels less to me like this is a bad football team and more to me like, first of all, there is a fluke factor here. If you look at the percentage of bad plays, if you just move those bad plays to different spots and maybe lessen the severity, considering 2 turnovers and a missed field goal are very big issues as opposed to, even a sack or something. If you make the 3rd down mistakes, 1st down mistakes to give them opportunities. I mean, I think the offensive line is a problem as a whole if you factor in not only the mistakes on passing downs, but the inability to run the ball effectively. Now, again, Josh Jacobs had a pretty good day, but the team as a whole didn't really have a good day, and that's pretty standard. Usually it's Josh Jacobs doesn't have a good day or somebody doesn't have a good day. The ability to run the ball or to use the run to assist the pass has been lacking. From what I was able to watch in this game, the run more often than not was a liability that put the passing situation in a bad situation. Again, that doesn't mean stop running the ball. You can't stop running the ball. That's not an option. You just have to do it better. I don't know that there was a ton here that I look at that I feel devastated about outside of obviously Tucker. Again, not making the case that it was okay, but making the case that I think a lot of the, again, we talk about inconsistency. It may have been a little more inconsistent than a normal game, but I don't know that it was. I think it was a little bit more, and maybe unlucky. I don't mean to soften the blow too much. It was unacceptable. But I do mean unlucky to some degree in that there were a limited amount of actual bad things as compared to good things, which was most of the game, and they happened at the most inopportune times, which caused us to score so few points, in addition to the fact that we had very limited opportunities because our defense, the Carolina Panthers offense did a good job of grinding down the field, which I will, final thought, go back to the idea that assuming Jeff Hafley is very excited about the fact that this is the way that they want to play defense, I think we need to revisit that. Again, Micah Parsons, I think, or whoever it was, made the point they only threw for so many yards. I mean, they shouldn't be winning if they're doing that. I understand, but it's hard for us to score points to surpass them if the offense isn't given the ball to go do things. Not that they didn't have enough opportunities. This could have been, a 24-10 game had things gone a little bit better or something, but it's hard for us to score 35, 40 points, which is also a frustration of the fan base. You should be winning by 15, 16, 17 points. How? We're not scoring 35 points with the amount of opportunities we had. So, anywho, that was kind of my assessment. I do feel a little bit better about things. Again, I don't feel like Matt LaFleur called a bad game. You'd have to watch all the plays and then take into more context of down and distance and all that to fully evaluate that. But from the most important standpoint, which is what I'm more concerned about, is when we call a pass play, is Matt LaFleur using his schematic mind to make sure people are open? And the answer to that question in this game unequivocally was yes. That's the biggest question mark for me, and the one thing that's really going to scare me if Matt LaFleur is no longer doing that. Now, I can't speak to every single game, but I can tell you in this game that was not an issue. All right, I'm out of here. You all have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Goodbye.